Tash Talks is proudly sponsored by Recharge for smarter subscription experiences. The world's best brands are powered by routine, and the world's best routines are powered by Recharge. Welcome to Tash Talks, the chat show where I sit down with some of the most inspirational female entrepreneurs and leaders in the UK today. Now, a lot of people talk about businesses led by purpose, and that is something that many of us as entrepreneurs want to achieve. However, in reality, that's easier said than done for many entrepreneurs, but not for today's guests. I'm so excited to welcome Jo Tutchener-Sharp, the founder of Scamp Dude, to Tash Talks. Jo, welcome to Tash Talks. I'm so happy to have you here. So let me start by asking you, who is Jo Tutchener-Sharp?
I am founder and CEO of Scamp Dude, and I'm a mum of 2 boys. And I live in Berkshire, in Cookham.
And Scamp Dude, the brand is famous for dresses like the one you are wearing now, isn't it? Tell us about the style, because the one thing about Scamp Dude is that everything you say that it is, it's uniquely recognisable and it's a really feel-good brand. Tell us about the style and why it's so unique.
So we try and make our clothes as joyful, as flattering, uplifting. So the prints, the colours, we're very careful which colours we put together, just to kind of make people smile and to make the fits as flattering as it possibly can be. So everything's nipped in just at the right places, and we spend a lot of time working with that to make as many people as possible, whatever shape and size, feel great in our clothes.
And when you say things like it's nipped in at the right places and amazingly flattering prints, you make that sound so easy, and I'm sure many fashion brands would think they wish they could do what you have done. Tell us the backstory of Scamp Dude, because this isn't a brand you've had your whole life, where you trained in fashion. How are you able to do what so many other brands aren't?
So it all started, it'll be 8 years in this November. So 8 years ago, I was working in PR. I had my own PR agency, and I was selling the shares in my agency, which is a very stressful thing to do, to remove yourself from your own business, and very, very stressful process. And I ended up with this very strange spasm in my face and went to the doctors, and they said, you're incredibly stressed, you need to stop whatever's going on in your life. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and
Did you think it was just stress? Was it like, it's just stress?
Yeah, I mean, I did feel like my body was really badly being affected by the stress.
Okay.
In fact, in my final email to my ex-business partners, I'd put, I accept the final offer for my shares. I need to stop this because I feel so stressed. I feel like my head is going to explode. And they were the words that I used. And a few weeks later, I had the most terrible headache, like someone was skewering the back of this eye. And I'd suffered a brain hemorrhage and discovered a lump on my brain. So my kids were only 1 and 3 at the time, and the thought of leaving them without a mum was just something that will stay with me forever. Horrendous feeling.
Did you end up in hospital then at this?
Yes.
Were you admitted as an emergency?
Yes, and I was given all the MRIs, and they discovered the lump and the hemorrhage, and then they don't think they really knew what to do with me for a while until I could get a bed at the neurological hospital on Queen's Square. So I was finally put with an amazing surgeon, and it was decided that he would remove the lump because they didn't know at that point if it was a cancerous brain tumour or if it was a blood tumour, which is called a cavernoma. And if a cavernoma hemorrhages, it's likely to hemorrhage again, and the next time's will be a bigger bleed and could be fatal. So it was almost like a bit of a time bomb in my brain. So it was decided, right, we'd remove it. So I'd asked if I could have the surgery in January so I could have one last Christmas with my kids if I wasn't going to come out. So a very emotional Christmas with my family and
How old were
and
you
the
at
kids.
the time?
I was 39.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
And thank goodness I came out of the surgery, and I'll never forget the moment I woke up in intensive care, and it was one of the happiest moments of my life because I was alive. I was just so happy. And I remember my mum and my husband being allowed to come in and me just going, I made it. So I was so proud. And I loved the nurses and the intensive care nurses. I remember just telling them how much I loved their eyebrows, and they made me this cup of tea. I was like, the best cup of tea I've ever had in my life. And then like vomited it all up because I was so like tubes coming out my head and everywhere.
And Jo, I've seen the photos. I don't know if you might be showing one later, but that shaved head staples down the side of your head that you see photos of when people have had that type of brain operation. What was that like, having that on your own head?
Well, to be honest, if you'd have asked me that before I became ill, I'd have been like, oh my God. But when it actually had happened to me and I'd been through the surgery, I was just so grateful to be alive. I didn't really, I mean, obviously it was horrible to look at, but I didn't mind the head. This side of my head was shaved, 20 staples. I didn't want my kids to see it because I thought they'd be terrified and I looked like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And that's when the idea for Scamp Dude came, because I had 10 days in hospital without seeing them and spent a lot of time thinking, what do I wish had been available to comfort them? What would have made us being apart easier for them? And I thought, I wish I could have given them a little cuddly superhero and said, look, this superhero is going to watch over you. And on the back, I thought if there was a pocket, I could have put my photo and I could have said, Mummy's still with you. And I kept thinking about it, thinking, well, why don't I just make them? And then for every one sold, I could donate one to a child who is seriously ill themselves or loses a parent. Because the big thing I remember, one of the things I remember most from facing the surgery, facing death, the possibility that this might be the end, was it's totally true what people say about those pearly gates. So I was there, I was at those gates going, oh my God, right, if this is it, that's my lot, that's my life, that's been my life, am I happy with it? And the big thing that I couldn't shake off was this feeling of, I haven't done enough good. I haven't helped enough people. Like, what's my legacy? What will I be remembered as? I've not done anything good. I didn't know until that moment that it was so important to me. So that's why I made a pact to myself that if I made it through the surgery, that my next career, whatever I did, I'd do something that really helped people. So then when I came up with these little superhero sleep buddies, I thought, well, this could be something I could do that could help the children who lose a parent, and also if parents are ill, the children with separation anxiety could be helped by these little. So this was a tiny little spark, a little kindling of Scamp Dude.
But it obviously didn't go away, did it? It stayed with you.
No. Well, that was in hospital, so that was in the January. And then in the March, I registered the name Scamp Dude.
Yeah.
Scamp as a nod to Sonny, my eldest son, because I used to call him Scamp, and Jude is my youngest son, so Dude was a nod to him. Just seeing as they'd inspired the creation of the brand, I thought I'd name it after them. And then I thought I wanted to do a clothing line to go with it for children, to empower them and give them confidence when they're apart from their loved ones. So going to school, going to nursery. So I decided to create superpower-infused animal print leggings and jumpers. So you can see the little lightning bolts within this dress. So there's all little lightning bolts mixed up into all of our prints. And we have a superpower button on every garment, and that's for kids to press to get their superpowers when they need it most. So we started off as a kids brand. We launched into Liberty in London that November. So like less than a year after my brain surgery, the collection launched into Liberty. We had a few women's sweatshirts, 2 women's sweatshirts, because as I was making the sweatshirts for the kids, I was going, oh God, I want to wear these. These are really cool. And I could not keep them in stock, nor could Liberty. So I had more and more, got more and more sorting. So such big quantities. So I was like, really? But putting so much money out, they'd be gone again, waiting lists. So I started to grow the women's collection because the demand was there.
Yeah.
And I started doing joggers as well and hoodies. And ever since then, to be honest, I've been running to keep up with the growth of the brand. And like I said, it'll be 8 years in November. And over those 8 years, we've gone from being a kids brand in Liberty and on our website to being 95% women's wear, still with a kids collection that's very important to us and still the heart of the brand. But we donated 8,000 of our superhero sleep buddies. But I've also launched super scarves, which is one of the most important things about Scamp Dude. And they are our scarves that for every one sold, we donate one to a woman with cancer. So the idea behind this is as I've had Scamp Dude, I've had so many women contact me saying that they're really poorly, they've read my story, they're very poorly, and asking for advice, and I've built relationships with them, and for so long I was just sending them sweatshirts going, right, I'm sending you a superpower infused sweatshirt. It's going to get you through this. Wear it to your next appointment, like press that superpower button. And my accountant was like, Jo, you've given away 350 sweatshirts. And it's really kind, which is a business. And I was like, oh, okay. So I decided to create the scarves because as with the Sleep Buddies, we don't make money out of the Sleep Buddies because the profit goes to donating the other one. I could do the same with the scarf. So anyone buys a scarf, and one's for them, and they double up as sarongs as well. The other one goes to one of our hospital partners. So we have partnerships with over 250 hospitals around the UK, where we send our scarves to all the chemo nurses, and they give them out to a woman. You think one of the scariest days of their life will be going in and starting chemotherapy, not knowing what to expect, and they get given a really soft, superpower-infused scarf to wrap themselves up in, like a comfort blanket, from a stranger, that they know someone's thinking about them and that we've got their back. And so far we've donated over 45,000, which I'm so proud of it. And that's one of the things my team and I are the most proud of out of anything to do with Scamp Dude. But we're trying to reach 63,000 because that's how many women start chemo each year.
Jo, what an incredible achievement. I mean, that was a whistle-stop tour of your brand journey, but from something so dark, and I know you've even, you say that yourself on the website, from something so dark comes this incredible brand. I do think a lot of brands yearn to have the kind of positive momentum and genuine, spreading a positive word and things that will lead to legacy that you've got. How do you maintain that? Does it come naturally because of how the brand was started, or is it something you have to always remember and focus on? And what would be your advice for other brands?
I think it comes very naturally to us because it's at our core. It's what we're all about, and it was such a major thing to go through for me to think that my life was up.
And I could tell that as you were even talking about it, it still makes you feel emotional now, doesn't it? Like thinking about the pearly gates moment, the legacy thing. I mean, I guess this has really stayed with you. I guess it stays with people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever lose that. And also the need to help other people, and to that purpose, the purpose side of the brand is so important to me, but also to my whole team. Yeah. I make sure that when we're recruiting people, I have one of the little checklists is, have they got a good heart? And there's certain questions we have to make sure, wheedle that out and tell them about our missions, and make sure they're really engaged in it, not just like they just want to work, get some money. They've got to be in it. Yeah. And my team are in it. They love it. They're so passionate. They want to help these people. They feel it. We celebrate the wins, which for us are like when we reach 40,000 scarves have been donated, or when we get a message from a parent whose child's been given one of our Sleep Buddies and it's helped them start sleeping, or all these messages we share with the team because it's a celebration for everyone. They're all part of it. And I make sure that the young, because I think as you get older, purpose and having a purpose really, you understand it a lot more.
I definitely agree with that, by the way. Some of these things I feel you can't actually understand until you suddenly can understand them.
Maybe, yeah.
And it's like something, either whether it's maturity or something's happened, then you suddenly can understand the principles of purpose. Whereas before, you'll kind of know it's something that you need to have, but aren't really sure how to find it.
Yeah, and this is what I try and say to our team, like the younger members of the team, try and explain the importance of having a purpose and why. And it doesn't, I always say this to people starting a business as well, make sure it has a purpose. And that doesn't have to mean charity. It doesn't have to mean, because it drives me mad. I've worked at businesses before, huge businesses, where there's almost like a tick box. Well, what are we doing for charity this year?
Oh, well, definitely, I think in bigger companies.
Let's give 50p to...
I mean, yeah, it is a tick box. I think it definitely is. And, or other brands without a purpose will be like, right, we need to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Let's
what can our purpose be?
Yeah, who can I give some money to?
But it has to be authentic to really, really keep going throughout the journey of a business. It's got to be a really authentic purpose. It's got to be real. And that's what I try and say to people is it doesn't have to be donating to charity, but it has to be the why of what's driving you to want to do that. Who are you helping? What are you making better? Because that's what will keep you going when you're absolutely exhausted and you're on your knees and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't keep going. This is exhausting. Then you'll remember the why. You'll remember why you're doing it, who you're helping, and then you'll just get up and keep going. So it's so important.
So Scamp Dude now is I think a very well-known British brand. I feel it is, but obviously I may exist in a world of brands, but I feel it's incredibly well-known. You've done really well on social media. You've always been a social-first brand, haven't you, in terms of social media coverage? Yeah. And you are now a fashion designer.
Well, I have a team of fashion designers now. I was a fashion designer and at the beginning of the business, and I'm very thankful that we now have a brilliant team of fashion. So therefore, you see the level of designs have gone like this. And
I did notice the level of designs has increased.
They really
like
have.
More
They're
variety.
so much better. They're so much better.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the team, and I still work really closely with them because I still. I know what colours and colour clashes I want, and a lot of the inspiration will come from things that I'm wishing I would wear.
Yeah.
But then the team go away and they create the actual magic now, which is.
And you're expanding your retail footprint, aren't you? What's the plan there, and how far is that going to go?
So we've got stores in Marlow, in Buckinghamshire. We've got Battersea Power Station, and we've got Edinburgh, and we've been doing a few little pop-ups as well. And we're looking to open between 3 to 5 stores a year for the next. We don't want to have stores absolutely everywhere. We're not going to be on every high street, but we want to be within like an hour and a half of all of our customers around the UK. And then I'm also looking at Dublin as well as a kind of. I love Ireland. We've got a lot of customers in Ireland, and I think it's almost like a kind of beginner's guide to international. Seeing as it's so close, because the whole international thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, I really want to do it, but it's quite overwhelming. I need to have the headspace to be able to really work through that. I've got my trademarks in the areas that we would look to go to, but there's so much more to delve into. And it's so busy that it's hard to stop and go, right, let me just actually look into this properly.
So talking about busyness, because from your Instagram, I think you're really busy. You're always running around. How do you cope? What have been some of the challenges you've had to deal with on this journey, particularly as the brand's grown to the size it's at today?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges has been keeping up with the growth. I think when lockdown happened, that was terrifying at first when we didn't know what was going to happen, and I got staff and looking at when we didn't know fulfillment centres could stay open, I was really worried, thinking, well, we won't be able to sell anything. And I was literally plotting how much cash I had in the business, so therefore how long I could keep my staff on.
How long, yeah.
Then it was reported, you're literally waiting for the updates from and going, what's happening next? And when the fulfillment centres were staying open, at least it meant that, okay, we could keep trading. But then the opposite happened, and when lockdown happened, we were really all loungewear. So we were joggers, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and pyjamas, and that is everything, all anyone wanted. So we went through the roof. We grew so fast, and trying to get more product made and it was almost like the opposite problem, which I'm definitely very grateful for, so I'm not moaning, but that was a challenge, because, and also then I didn't have many members of staff, and everyone's working from home, obviously. So you're all pulling together to try and make this happen. It's like this core group of us who were in the business then. And since then, we've grown. We opened an office about 18 months ago. We opened an office in Marlow, and we've recruited a lot more people. And now I feel like finally we've got to a point where we have a really, really strong, amazing team, great culture within the business. And now I feel like for so long it was just me, and then I had a few freelancers, and then you start taking on permanent members of staff, and then you get to a point when suddenly everything starts getting a little bit easier because you've got this amazing team behind you. But before, when I was the designer, I was the merchandiser, I was the accountant. When you're there putting all these different hats on, going, definitely not the best person to be doing this.
There's a brilliant TikTok meme that's come out of Absolutely Fabulous with Joanna Lumley saying, I'm the designer, I'm the accountant. She goes through all the jobs that you have to do as a founder, and she says, I'm a very important person. And it's a brilliant TikTok meme, because for anyone who's had a business, you think, oh, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I think it's good to know every part of the business.
I do as well.
But you also, I think you understand where your talents are and where your talents aren't, and therefore when you're doing certain bits. I mean, when I started the business and I was doing all the accounts I knew I had to do it in Excel. I didn't know how to use Excel. I'd been a PR. I'd been using PowerPoint and Word. I have Excel. So all I was doing was using Excel because I knew I had to, but inputting everything and then adding it up. I didn't even know how to do the formulas. So I was just adding it up and putting the answer in. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is so bad.
Kind of defeats the purpose, the point of Excel.
Totally. It's embarrassing. But you have to do what you have to do, don't you? And I was trying very hard. But it was great when we got an accountant to come in and actually do it properly.
And how do you handle the juggle? You've got kids, it's something all women face. How do you handle that? I mean, obviously all of us, our kids are getting older now because we're all getting a bit older. But how do you handle that?
That's definitely been one of the hardest things too. But I think Scamp Dude's always been part of their lives. Like Sonny was 3, like I said, when I started the brand. So it's always been part of it. And most of the time I've been working from home. It's actually, the juggle's been a little bit easier since my husband closed his business and came into Scamp Dude too. So we're all working to the same, and the boys are so involved in it. Like the boys get involved, they come and work with our design team to design the kids' collections. Because so Sonny being 12, wants to wear things that are slightly different to our kids' collection had been because he's turning into a teenager. So he sat with our designers and said, right, I'm feeling like a graffiti collection, and I'm seeing bubble writing, and I'm doing this, and he's briefing them basically on his creative concepts of how he wants to see it. And
what a great experience for them. How fantastic they get to be inside the business and have that sort of input.
Well, it wasn't the other day, it was a couple of years ago, but I came down for breakfast one morning and the boys were doing something on the table, and I was like, what are you doing? And they were like, we're writing business plans. And I was like, oh God. But I love that so much. They know anything's possible, but they see how hard we work. So they know that you have to absolutely work hard. We say that as well. And the sacrifices you have to make, but how brilliant that they think they don't have to just go and work for somebody else. They can create them. One of Sonny's ideas was really good. And I've written it down to say, right, one day when he's ready, I might kind of encourage him to do that because it was a really good idea.
I mean, that's so fantastic, especially because we have this project Biz Kids, which is teaching children entrepreneurship, children aged 8 to 15. They are properly capable.
Yeah.
They are very interested in learning about money. They want to go out and make money. They want to be able to do things. And I think what's great about this point in time is they almost can because of phones and the accessing of platforms like Vinted and all these sorts of things. So, right, before we go down memory lane, let's just have a look at your super scarves, because I know you've brought one in to show us. Yes, I have
brought one in because I think it's good to show the size of these. So this is one of our new ones coming up.
And these are being given out on chemo wards by nurses.
So we don't sell these and then give out a cheap version.
Yeah.
The same is given out in the hospitals. So you buy. They're really big, really, really soft scarves, but also you look at the size because
this is where you can wear it as a sarong.
Sarong, or you can wear it as a throw on your bed when you're going on holiday. Or my kids wrap up on these on the plane. They love to wrap up in them.
They're gorgeous. And you must get lots of letters from women saying thank you so much.
So many. I think people are quite touched to receive anything when they're going through chemo, but something as lovely as that, it's got a special message.
It's a unique point in time, I think, from your origin story to things like this, where you're touching families, isn't it? In that crucial moment of, I know that's not the whole customer base nowadays, but from the beginning, there's still an element of your customer base that's always being touched when they're in a crucial moment of being in hospital, isn't
and
there?
A lot of people are being introduced to the brand
through
hospital by being given something at a time, or
either a child is being given the teddy bear, or an adult's getting a super scarf.
Or a family member hears of it. And I think we want to be there at those moments to be helping and filling people with superpowers and helping, lifting them up. And it's quite nice that a lot of people find out about us from that. Others find out about us. I think
it's incredible that that's come from your own experience and you are able to reach them at a time that most people aren't. And with such lovely products. Right, let's go down memory lane and have a look at some of your photos.
Okay.
So the very first photo is November the 19th, 2016, the day you launched Scamp Dude in Liberty. Yeah. How does it make you feel when you look at this photo?
I love this picture, and I mean, this is just snapped on my phone. We didn't have any professional pictures or anything. I think it was such a panic to get to that point where we were ready to launch in. And I remember getting on the bus that morning when we lived in Crouch End and standing at the bus stop to wait to get the bus in, thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. That I knew I was going to walk into Liberty and see a collection that I'd created from scratch, from like it was just the most surreal moment. And walking in, I'll never forget that, walking in and seeing Sarah Coonan, who's she's now managing director of retail at Liberty, but she was the head buyer in those days. And she was putting the finishing touches to it. And it was just, I'll never forget that moment. It was magical. And then my husband brought the kids down. So that picture's the kids seeing it for the first time and seeing them see it. They'd seen me, I mean, they were so young, but they'd seen me at home working so hard at this and getting samples in. And then it was so surreal, but really special, a really special moment.
And in Liberty as well. I mean, such a famous store as well. What a great place to start retail.
Special.
So this video, I mean, you said it moved you to tears when you saw it, and I thought the same thing. This lovely little boy, just explain what he's doing.
So this was really early on. I was absolutely exhausted, and one of those moments when I talk about how purpose really keeps you going, it was one of those moments, absolutely exhausted. And then someone tagged me on Instagram. I just looked, what have I been tagged in?
Were you just thinking, oh God, you know, is this going to be okay? How am I going to do all this work? Was that?
Oh yeah, total overwhelm of just being absolutely exhausted with running a business on your own.
Yeah.
And then looked, oh, what have I been tagged on? I had a look, and it's a video of this little boy called Freddie, who's now become a friend of the brand. I've become a friend with his mum, and I love them. He has cerebral palsy, and he was practicing going on an unaided walk because he needed a walker. And he stood there, and before he goes off on his unaided walk, he's wearing his Scamp Dude T-shirt. He presses his superpower button to give him the powers, and then off he goes. And I just burst out crying, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's working, it's doing what I wanted it to do. It's giving these kids the superpowers, it's filling them with that strength, and it was incredible. And now every time I watch it, I'm like, oh God. And he's so good. That was a while ago, and he's so grown up now, and equally as lovely. We had him come to the shop. We ran a 10K for cancer research, and he came to watch. He was there at the front of the queue when we opened our Marlowe's shop. And we've done a little, there's a little piece on the website about him as well, because we've had him come. He just kind of epitomises.
But Jo, it goes back to when you're touching people at these special moments that you can get an affinity that, you know, you end up, because of the fact you're not just a brand, you're doing incredibly good work, you end up with an affinity that no one else could possibly match.
I think it's a community thing as well. Like we've got, so social media, as you said, but I think social media came very naturally to me when I started the business, having worked in PR for so long. I naturally enjoy it, and it's been something that I've always engaged with and love meeting people. So that's grown nicely. But we've also got a Facebook group called Scamp and Duders, and that's our more kind of hardcore fans that love the brand, that are really, really love the brand. And watching that community grow.
I need to join it. I need to get in it.
You need to see. They are absolutely amazing. It's like they're always saying that this is the kindest group. There's never any trolling or meanness. You can't. And they get kicked out in a second if there was anyone being mean. But they're all supporting each other. They all send each other, like the tags that we have with our clothes. You get there's one tag that's a circle that says superpower button. It just explains what superpowers you can get from pressing They cut them off and they send them to each other when they're having a hard time. Some of them they wish they bought something they couldn't, but they'll lend it to them. They're all just supporting each other.
How incredible.
They're amazing. But what they also do, when they're walking down the street and they see someone else in Scamp and Dude, they go and talk to them. If they're nervous, they just shout "Duda" at them and give them a little wave. But mostly they'll go and strike up a conversation because they know because they're wearing Scamp and Dude, they're going to be nice people. So they go up and talk to them.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I mean, I am a long-time customer of yours, but I always notice when someone else is in the Scamp and Dude dress, and I'm like, oh, Scamp and Dude dress, they're going to be nice. You're right. You do know they're going to be nice people.
I think that's really special.
I think that's incredibly special. It's beyond. I mean, it's like an unbelievable achievement to have that, and for people. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, to know that. It's unbelievable. Right, let's look at your third photo in memory lane. Okay, this is the Marlowe shop opening.
Oh, that was a really special moment, and that's when my husband joined the company as well. So, we were coming out of lockdown. We both feeling like I wanted to get into shops again. Really wanted to go and touch clothes, feel clothes, and my husband was like, right, I think we should open a shop in Marlowe. Let's open a shop in Marlowe. And so he came into the business then, and he ran the opening and the kind of all the negotiations beforehand. But opening that shop, We'd had one little shop before in Highgate in North London, but it was tiny. It was literally like this.
Yes, I remember that.
It was teeny tiny, but this one felt like the first proper shop.
Yes.
And we were so proud, like, as a team. We were literally all there on the floor, beforehand, putting pictures in frames and sweeping but that sense of accomplishment for all of us. The day it opened was just like, oh my goodness, this is
and also one thing I've
incredible.
always wondered is, did the people from Milo come running down? I bet they did.
Yeah, we had Chris Evans running past in the morning. So the morning of the shop opening, we had people queuing from at 6 a.m.
They must have been so happy that your brand was opening.
But they weren't just people from Marlow. There were people coming from all around the country.
Right.
So we had people at the front of the queue that had come from Sheffield, the Isle of Wight, that had come out because it's the first chance for a lot of them to come to a real Scamp Dude store and to come into the world of Scamp Dude. And they were queuing round the block. My husband had been around and was like, oh my goodness, you wait till you get down here, there's queues around the block. And my dad dropped me off in his car outside the shop, and I was like, oh, and I got out and they all screamed. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really should have got a better end. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about me arriving, didn't think they'd care, didn't think there'd be people around the block. So I was like, I should have done a Bianca Jagger and ridden in a white horse.
You should have done.
Should have had a moment.
Red carpet.
I was like, right.
Should have done your jazz hands as you got out of the car.
But it was really
fantastic.
special. It was lovely, a really special moment. And the stores, we have people travelling from so far to come and visit the shop.
And I have to say, if ever I'm in Marlow, I think I must go to Scamp Dude because that's where the shop is.
And it's a joyful shop. It's so colourful and lovely, and the staff are amazing.
Well, we've gone from one shop to a far more grand affair. What is this?
That's the Battersea Power Station shop. So if there's a little video as well that kind of shows you a little bit more about it.
Oh yes, here it is. So this is now, so this is the opening, yes.
So this opened in September.
Jo, this looks like
year.
a proper retail shop.
I mean, this is like big.
Yeah, this looks like a Zara store.
Yeah. Well, this is when the boys came to help cut the ribbon for the opening. So it was just another pinch me moment of, oh my goodness. There've been so many pinch me moments on this journey, and that was definitely one of them. Seeing us in Battersea Power Station, it's such a beautiful, iconic building.
Oh, it's incredible there.
Absolutely stunning store. So yeah, that was another moment.
Brilliant. So before we wrap up, Jo, what is your one piece of advice for other women watching today and thinking, I could never do what Jo's done?
So one thing I try and say to women is, I completely changed my career at 40. So don't think it's too late. If you found yourself in a job, you're 40 and you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm fed up of being a teacher, or I'm fed up of doing whatever you're fed up of doing, don't think it's too late, because it's not. And it wasn't lucky, obviously not lucky being ill, but actually what I went through gave me this incredible fire in my belly to go and do something, and a real mission and passion with a real purpose. But it also gave me, I didn't see barriers. So I thought, of course I've never, if you said to me then, you'll be running a fashion brand, a women's wear fashion brand with stores, I'd have gone, that's hilarious. There's no way I'd have believed that. But starting with a kids collection is a lot easier, and jersey is a lot easier than dresses and everything that we've grown into, when I now have the team that can do that. But I would say, don't be afraid, don't see barriers, try and see that before you actually get to that moment. Also, the kind of legacy thing, try and think that now. Don't wait till you're actually possibly about to die before you actually look back over your life. Stop and think that now. If I only had today left, what would I think of how I've lived my life? Would there be something I would change? And have I been doing what I was meant to do? And if not, make that change. Don't wait, because it's a horrible feeling when you think, when you're thinking that, but actually you might not have the time to make that change. It's a horrible sinking feeling, empty, horrible feeling. And so think about
Jo,
it now.
if you were standing at the pearly gates again, how would you see it now?
So
I'm sure your work's not complete, is it?
Maybe.
Way off complete.
Definitely not. Definitely not complete. And I really want to hit that 63,000 scarves, because I really want to touch every woman starting chemotherapy. But 45,000 scarves donated is not bad.
It's a huge number.
We've donated over £2 million worth of product and stock so far, and cash donations. We raise money for different charities as well. So I would now go, okay, I have help. I don't want to go to the pearly dates. No. Fate, don't make that happen. But I at least now would go, okay, I've helped some people now. Good.
Oh, fantastic, Jo. It's been so lovely to meet you today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Tash Talks is proudly sponsored by Recharge for smarter subscription experiences. The world's best brands are powered by routine, and the world's best routines are powered by Recharge.